But now let's take a moment and let's look back in history, folks. We have Richard
looking back.
Well, as the resident historian and the resident Brit, King Charles II was the second worst king called Charles, and probably the second worst king called anything. But one thing he did get right is that on the August 10th, 1675, he gave the permission to have the Royal Observatory in Greenwich built, which is an amazing building. I've been there many times. It's where the meridian is for zero, and you can stand in both hemispheres at once. It doesn't feel particularly strange, but it's there. And it was built to track the stars for the Navy. And before long, it was tracking stars for other things because they made amazing star charts that weren't actually beaten until the 1940s with this incredible telescope. But the article we read talks about the way that astronomy kind of started to eat into Genesis and wear away Genesis's legitimacy, because the more we looked through these telescopes, the more utterly wrong Genesis seemed to be. So Galileo's famous for the first telescope. He's also famous for getting into trouble by pissing the Pope off by calling him a bit of an idiot and not doing the book that he promised to write. But that's a whole other story. But yeah, it's amazing to think that this thing developed for the Navy has ended up changing the world so much. If only certain creationists could know by how much. I mean, yeah. What do people think? Who wants to go with this?
As a former squid. Oh, no.
As a former squid.
Yeah, go
I
ahead,
still am a squid.
What do you think, Jason?
Jason, go, squid.
Well, oh no, that's former naval person in American, I should say. So, yeah, no, this was really great, and it allowed science to kind of really take off and really observe how the universe was created, and to the point where we get a lot of callers on the different shows about, oh, the Bible is so accurate and depicts the actual creation, and it really doesn't. And in this main article, it does something that I feel like none of the other shows have really got a chance to do. And if you'll indulge me just for like a little bit.
By all means, sir.
Yeah. Even if you look at the creation in millions of years or in stages, it still falls apart, because like in day or stage one, Earth is somehow created, but that's before the stars, before the creation of day and night, before the sun. That makes absolutely no sense. What actually happened was the evolution of the universe, not the Big Bang, as some people would say it. That is a massive expansion of the universe, so the evolution of the universe. Stage two, the creation of water. Again, sun hasn't been created yet. What actually happened was the evolution of stars and our sun. Gases coalescing and creating these giant stars. Day three, creation of other planets. Well, that would have happened in that almost is correct, because that was the evolution of Earth, Moon, and so, hey, they got stage three correct. Woo. Almost.
Something.
Stage four, now you're creating the sun, the moon, and the stars. Yeah, no, the evolution of water would have happened at that point. Stage five, the creation of fish and birds. You would have had plants, then fish, then land animals, and then birds. Stage day 6, creation of land animals and the creation of human beings. And we came way after, like the last few minutes of day or stage 7. So, Yeah, everything about it is completely wrong, and I've taken up way too much time on that one. So, Nate,
Now,
take it away from me.
yeah, I'm going to push back because according to some of our callers on other shows, mammals can or reptiles can live in space, right? Have you not heard the good word of Space Snake? He is an intergalactic sarlacc monster that is going to devour SR.
The outer darkness. No,
Travels the globe. That's what I've
We're all
that's what
going
I've
there,
heard,
bro.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
He travels the globe and is in the globe.
We heard the atheist screams from there somehow.
Atheist screams.
How we opened it, how we even saw it. Well, that's that caller.
Man, it's all in Genesis. If you would open your eyes and have faith in the metaphor, you would understand, man.
The literal
wrong
metaphor.
with you people?
The literal metaphor, exactly. I think one of the things that
right.
It jumped out at me is just how fucking long we have been doing some of this stuff that we just kind of all lump together as science. Like the fact that, we've been going about this for almost 400 years in this manner, right? Like, where we actually we go through building these establishments that are entirely focused on this, right? No longer is it just some guy, just sitting away in his observatory like it was before. Now we've got institutions. We're calling people together and we're saying, go and learn more and understand more. I mean, I think this kind of like is a death blow to that argument from, theists that say, that talk about how super critical and important, religion was for modern science. It just doesn't seem to be the case when we go back and we hear this stuff, right? And Richard, please, I mean, give us some more. This is definitely your wheelhouse.
Well, I want to hear more from Richard.
Yeah, well, this is the weird thing, because what you'll get is this argument that says, well, all modern science comes from Christianity. It's like, yeah, but I came from my dad's sperm and I'm not a sperm. It doesn't. Yeah, there's, for example, empiricism. Empiricism goes back to this thing known as cultura anima, this idea of the culture of the spirit. And it comes from a belief that we have post-lapsarian and post-fall brains, and they're rubbish. So if you take everything out and put it outside, you can look at the universe without your rubbish brain getting it wrong. And so they use this technique for look for God for 400 years, and he ain't there. So about 250 years in, they went, shall we stop the looking for God bit, because it's not really working out for us? Let's just look at the amazing things we keep finding. So go on, Christians, make that argument. Go for it. Tell us how it came from Christianity. And I'll go, yeah, that church down the road that's now a lovely block of flats, that came from you too. It's much nicer with a kitchen in it, I gotta say. Who cares? Who cares? Origins are not realities now. But yeah, it's I don't know. I just find, by the way, one thing I will just say, the one thing about this article that worried me is how it said the evolution of the universe, the evolution of the stars, the evolution of the earth. I can see Kent Hovind right now going, I see, it's all evolution. I told you. I'm going to get some water. And then it's just, it's a metaphor, Kent. Just look it up. Metaphor. In a book. It's just, but
he's putting the meta in metaphor.
Yeah. I think one of the best things Christianity ever did is try to look at the universe to explain God rather than read the book, because we're here now because of it, many of us. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure, right? I mean, without that, we wouldn't have all this awesome stuff where we're all communicating to each other online and hooked into things and microphones and all that. But what are you thinking, Jason? Was there something, in this article that really jumped out at you as just being super, super cool?
It's just that, we're seeing the best and worst of what science has to offer right now. And no, it didn't start with the creation of this this observatory, but we have seen so much good come from this. We're seeing it through the James Webb Space Telescope. We're seeing further and further into the universe, further and further back into time. We're seeing whole stars and whole galaxies, birth and burn to death. And it's just such an amazing time. And to think that it started with, some religious guys going, hey, let's go ahead and look up in the stars and get some navigation going.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Nate, what do you think?
So my notes going in for this segment were somewhat anemic because I went in last because Dr. Rich already had his notes, and by God, this man is prolific. He could have written a fucking novel about the Royal Observatory. It was amazing. And I know, SR, I know you have some place to be, so I'll just throw it to Dr. Rich by asking, could Harold Godwinson have won the Battle of Hastings if he had rested and resupplied?
Yeah, probably. But he didn't. So,
right. Well, you're lucky, SR. You got a short answer. I'm just going to totally derail the conversation. I got a historian, man. I don't get to talk to historians.
No,
often. I'm a history nerd.
I
Come on.
totally agree. I mean, please, Richard, give us any other thoughts you have on this, but before we close out, because it is, I mean, there is a lot of fascinating stuff in these articles, as well as the stuff that you've written. So please give us as much of that as you possibly can for another minute or so.
Well, I'm not going to go too much. I mean, one of my gripes with the secular community is the way people talk about what happened with Galileo, because Galileo wasn't persecuted and tortured and all those things because he was a heretic. He was done for vehement suspicion of heresy, because basically his mate, the Pope, who was a cardinal who stopped the other Pope from giving him hell, said, write a book. Half the book's got to be this new Copernican idea, the half of it's got to be Ptolemaic, keep it balanced. And Galileo, who, let's just say, was a troublemaker, did not keep it balanced. He basically made the Ptolemaic side look ridiculous and the Copernican side look amazing. And so, of course, the Pope went, oh, we've got to do something about him. So he dragged the old Pope's rule that Galileo has to shut up a bit and put him on the house arrest. And that's kind of what happened. It was all about egos, really. It's always all about egos. At the time, kind of the Ptolemaic wasn't even the accepted solution. It was this thing called the Tychaic model, which is everything goes around the sun except the Earth, which is in the middle, and everything. It's complicated and totally just not right.
That sounds bizarre.
But Copernicus was growing, and a few years later, you get the Royal Institute starting and the Royal Academy of the Sciences starting, and you get this observatory built. And then 10 years after the observatory, Newton comes along and he's rude to everybody, but brilliant at the same time. So it's not like science wasn't flourishing. And it's being held back. Quite the opposite. This is a period where everyone had realized that Aristotle was completely wrong. Aristotle, America. You didn't mention America. Why didn't you mention actually the Bible? Where's the America in the Bible? And that freaked people out, and so the ancients are wrong. So that's as succinct as I can get. That's kind of it. That was kind of it. It's like, where is this continent in all literature?
That was in the Mormon book, but
that's right. That's right.
We won't go into fan fiction.
You got the Bible 2.0 a little bit later.
It is very important to wear special pants. I do agree with them there. I always wear, the rare time I'm wearing pants at all, I wear special underwear.
And we will not speak about whether or not the current hosts are or are not pantsed. So you guys can think about that on your own, folks. But sorry. Any other thoughts?
Figure it out in the comments.
Figure it out in the comments. The thoughts are that this chair is very comfortable with what I am or may not be wearing. Other than that, I think a history of science is a fascinating thing. There are some wonderful books out there that everybody should read. I've just picked one. They're all brilliant, pretty much. And it just goes to show that one of the greatest times that Christianity shot itself right in the foot is when it invented modern science. Oops. It's great.
Yeah. And I think that's an absolutely fantastic way to wrap this episode up.